Have you ever prayed and felt like heaven was silent? Like your deepest desires were ignored and hope was slipping through your fingers? Today we bring you the story of Hannah, a woman who teaches us that God's silence is not his absence. Her journey is one of pain, surrender, and discovering the beauty of God's perfect timing. Let's step into her world and hear her story.
My name is Hannah, and for many years my life was marked by sorrow and waiting. I was the first wife of Elkanah, and while his love for me was evident, my life was marked by a silent and painful void. I could not bear children. Meanwhile, Peninnah, his second wife, bore many children and never missed an opportunity to mock me. Her taunts were unrelenting, her words cruel. It felt as though every child she bore was another reminder of my barrenness. The scriptures say that it was God who had shut my womb. 1 Samuel 1:5-6. For years I wrestled with questions as my heart grew heavy and my thoughts failed me. Why would God withhold the one thing I longed for the most? Why would he allow my heart to break under the weight of unmet desires? Every year we went to Shiloh to worship the Lord, but those visits became unbearable. Peninnah's taunts grew louder, and my own bitterness deepened. One year, after a particularly cruel confrontation, I could no longer hold back my tears. While we were at Shiloh and everyone was merry, eating and drinking, I quietly went to the temple, overwhelmed by despair. There, in my brokenness, I knelt before God and prayed as I never had before. My prayers were no longer about proving my worth or silencing Peninnah. This time, I prayed with a heart fully surrendered to God's purpose. Through tears, I cried out, "Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant but give her a son, then I will give him to you all the days of his life." In that moment, something shifted in my spirit. I realized that the delay wasn't about punishment or rejection. It was preparation. God had shut my womb for a reason. He was waiting for me to align my desires with his divine purpose. The child I longed for was not just for me. He was to fulfill God's plan for his people. When Eli the priest saw me praying so fervently, he thought I was drunk. But I explained, "I have been pouring out my soul to the Lord." Eli blessed me and assured me that God would answer my prayer. And he did. In time, I gave birth to a son, Samuel. Holding him in my arms, I marveled at the goodness of God. But I also remembered my vow. When Samuel was weaned, I brought him to Shiloh and dedicated him to the Lord. I placed him in God's hands, knowing that he was part of a plan far greater than my own. Samuel grew to be one of Israel's greatest prophets, a man through whom God would speak to kings and nations. Looking back, I understand that the years of waiting were not wasted. God was preparing me to be the mother of a child destined for his service. To every woman waiting on God for a child, I say this: trust in his timing. The waiting may feel unbearable, but know that it is not without purpose. God even blessed me with more children. Bring your pain, your desires, and your prayers to God. And above all, align your prayers with his will. Sometimes the delay is not because God has forgotten you, but because he is working out something far greater than you can imagine. Like me, you may find that the blessing you long for is part of a divine plan to bring glory to his name. Wait on the Lord, and when the appointed time comes, you will see his faithfulness.
Hannah's story is a reminder that God's delays are not his denials. In her waiting, God was working. When her prayers aligned with his will, he answered in a way that brought glory to his name and changed history. If you're waiting on God today, don't lose hope. Trust his timing and let your prayers reflect his purpose. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to StoryLight-Ignite. for more stories that shine God's light into every heart. See you next time. God bless you.